I just wanted to quickly touch on the Sixers. Not going to do full deep dive. We got some other stuff to get to. But the Sixers are 1-4 in March right now. And as you mentioned earlier, they've kind of been just firmly in the 4-6 range pretty much all year long until we got to this stretch. And now they have fallen to 8th. Clean the glass, they are 16th in offense, 18th in defense, 19th in net rating, negative point differential right now, despite being 4 games over 500. And in those games, to give a little bit of grace to them, off rip, which kind of flows into my overall question for you. Joel Embiid has not played in March, and he's missed 8 of their last 10 games. Tyrese Maxey currently out with a sprained pinky finger, which quick shout out to Derek Bodner of Philly Sports, PHLY Sports, who recently noted, like, hey, Tyrese dealt with this finger injury last year, and then the 4 games that he played trying to work through the sprained pinky, shot 28% from the field, I think went 2-1-4, they ultimately shut him down, and ultimately Philly was just shutting people down anyway. They end up with VJ Edgecombe. I think they won that one, but if Max is going to play through this one, we do have that bit of recent history there. Kel'El Oubre missed the San Antonio-Utah back-to-back. Paul George is still suspended. So, like, they're missing folks right now. They are 20th in offense, 20th in defense, 21st in net rating since the All-Star break. And my broader thing I want to pose to you, Steve, is, like, I don't know how to analyze this portion of the Sixers season. Not that I can't, like, turn on the game and see what they're doing on offense and defense, because, like, you can see that stuff. But more so, bigger picture, I entered the season saying to you, my only guarantee about the Sixer season is that I'm going to be wrong about the Sixer season. I'm either going to trust in the talent and think they're going to be like a top 4 seed and they're going to finish like 12th, or I'm not going to trust the health and then they're going to. And lo and behold, they're now 8th. So, like, that's lovely. And so it's just like, I don't know how to soak in the fact that we have seen the high end of the Sixers with Joel Embiid flowing in into December, into January, and looking like a world ender. Tyrese Maxey has played an all-NBA level and fringe MVP candidate pretty much all year long. VJ Edgecombe has firmly been, he's going to make the all-rookie first team. We're going to get there a little bit later. But, like, he's been good. Paul George was starting to find his way as kind of like a gap filler on both ends of the floor before his suspension. And you were getting enough from, like, the second unit guys. And Kel'El Oubre was having a good year. It's like, okay, this is what it can look like. And then we get here where guys are missing. Teams are throwing different looks at Tyrese Maxey. It's like, okay, this feels interesting. I just don't know which part to believe in, I guess, because the health stuff was always in peril. So, like, the question I wanted to ask you on a general note is just, like, how have you soaked in this Sixers season? And then to narrow it down, how have you felt about this Sixers stretch? Because, like, I don't know how much to weigh because of how perilous the health situation is with them.
I mean, I think for me, this portion of the Sixers season is we cannot afford this. We've run out of things to be able to handle the adversity that we're being handed. I think for me, overall, Philadelphia did a very good job of building a type of offense that would highlight Tyrese Maxey, highlight BJ Edgecombe as they were trying to get Paul George and Joel Embiid back. So, okay, we're not going to do elbow action. We're not going to be post heavy. We're going to get to drive and kick. We're going to get to flow. We're going to get to cuts. We're going to have this. So we have something on top of what Joel Embiid brings to the table. And we saw Joel Embiid come back and stabilize. So we have the drive and kick, but also we can play through Joel Embiid at the elbow. We can play through him at the post. He can do pick and roll. He can do handoffs. We can keep pressure on you that way. So you had kind of the yin and the yang to a degree of, okay, we've built something when we're trying to manage him. He comes in and elevates that. Paul George finds his rhythm in that. And then everyone starts to disappear. Joel Embiid is now gone again. And I mean, gone. Paul George is out. VJ Edgecombe is out. And now you're left with a talent deficit to a degree that can't overcome, because it's cool to do drive and kick and to do cuts and flow. But if you're a team facing Philadelphia 76ers, why am I not just switching everything? Who am I scared about here? So I become easier to guard to a degree. So it's less about, hey, what can Philadelphia do? It's more, can they get their people on the court now? Because they have put themselves in a position at 6 to, okay, we can compete. You don't want to see us in the playoffs. At 8, that's a different story.
And even with 8, they're a game and a half ahead of, like, they're closer to 9 than they are to 6 at this point. It's like, if this skid continues, if these guys continue to miss, like, what happens if the Sixers continue to slide? Like, the next 5 games, they're playing Memphis later tonight. On Thursday, they go to Detroit. Saturday against Brooklyn, which they should win, but, like, Brooklyn plays a style to where if Philly doesn't have, like, Embiid back in particular, like, the Sixers get up. I mean, the Nets get up and down, and they can force turnovers. And so, like, that could get kind of hazy. Like, stylistically, that's an interesting matchup. Portland, similar deal, especially if they are any semblance of healthy. Like, the Portland slide, we talk about the West playing, like, that's kind of gone under discussed, but that's okay. But yeah, that's where I'm just kind of like, I agree with you, but it also feels to me like I don't want to sell the Sixers short. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to reduce them to, if healthy, good. If not healthy, bad. And that's just kind of it. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm just kind of like, how are you soaking this part in? Because, like, I'm watching these Sixers games. Like, to your point, it was Cleveland on the second night of a back-to-back. They had no Maxey. They had no Embiid. They had no PG. They had no VJ. And so Cleveland very largely was like, yeah, we're just switching all of this stuff, actually. And, like, unless you force a miss or a turnover, you can actually get into some of this early drag stuff and be able to get downhill that way. You don't have anything. It's like, okay. And then the defense itself is, they're missing their best guys. I guess the last thing I'll note before we get out of here, like, I would like to see more consistency from Quentin Grimes. Like, that would certainly help this iteration of the team. And once everyone comes back, you get a more consistent scoring punch for him. It feels like the productivity and the way that they're using him has kind of fluctuated throughout the year. And so I want to see more on that. He just had, I think, 26 the other night, and that was his first 20-point game since December 5th. I don't know if that's the kind of note you want with Quentin Grimes, but it's just odd. I hope they're able to get it together. But it's just been kind of odd watching the Sixers and watching the bodies kind of drop on that point. That's all I had.